Hello, and welcome to Ask Me About K-Pop, the essential guide for recent converts and seasoned K-pop fans alike. My name is Shannon, and I am joined today, as always, by my nerdy soulmate, Angelica. How are you today?
Hello, I'm feeling great. Excited about K-pop as I am every single day. It starts my morning, it ends my evening.
Yep,
I'm ready.
This is our thing. So today we're going to start at the very beginning. How does a K-pop group come to be?
Yeah, who are these people? Where do they come from? How do they get cast?
And so we'll start, as we do every week, with some vocabulary words. And our first vocabulary word is trainee.
Trainee. With two
Trainee,
E's.
which is essentially an idol in training.
Absolutely.
This is a person who has been cast by a K-pop company.
Yes.
Which is something we will do an entire episode about, because that is a whole
other thing.
you know, bag of can of worms itself. So you get these kids. They're most of the like the general training story for most people is there are global auditions every year. These companies hold these huge auditions
all over the world.
All over the world. Kids from like 10 to like 18, whatever, are auditioning to get picked up by these companies. And if they get signed on to be a trainee, that basically means that every moment of their time that they're
not
like,
in school.
not at school is spent training, learning to dance, to act, to sing,
to give interviews, to be a celebrity.
English
in every
lessons,
sense
Japanese
of the word.
lessons, manners lessons, public speaking. Yeah, everything that it takes to be a like polished performer, to be this, to stand up to this standard that has been set for like what a K-pop group is.
Yes, but I think it's important to bring up and to point out that being cast as a trainee and being picked up by a company does not mean that you are automatically put into a group.
No.
Usually, and correct me if I'm wrong, but usually kids will get chosen to be a trainee and train sort of generally, like how to sing and how to dance, and maybe like by learning other groups' songs and dances, and then they get put with other people.
Yes,
and
then the company itself will decide like, okay, so 2019, we're going to debut 2 new boy groups and a girl group. And then they will look within their trainees and try to put groups together like that. And sometimes like a kid will come in and they will be like, the whole group is based around this person. And then everyone that comes in from then, they are just trying to fill in the holes to build this group of whatever they want the group to be.
Other times they'll start with a concept for a group and say, we want people who can sing this way, or we want people with this kind of style. And then they sort of like choose from what they have, like you would go well with this, and you, and you, and you. And then those 5 to 12 people in their group are going to train together for several years as a group before they finally debut.
Which will bring us to our other vocabulary word for this week, which is debut stage.
Debut stage. What is a debut stage, Shannon?
This is the first time that a group appears on a music show. And another future episode will be all about music shows, because they are very important in the world of K-pop.
In the way
everything.
that TRL used to be
Yes.
a complete, permanent, and important fixture in American
As if
music.
TRL was on 7 channels all weekend long. It's very important. So a debut stage almost always happens on M Countdown, which is on the channel Mnet, because that show airs on Thursday nights. So it's the first one of the week. So most debut stages happen on M Countdown.
And so what do groups do with a debut stage?
It sort of depends. This is fun. When I was doing research for this episode, I found that debut stages have changed a lot throughout the years. Something that I forgot to mention in the last episode that is very interesting about K-pop is that K-pop as we know it began in 1993.
Ooh.
So it has only been a thing for like 25 years. So the history of this is not as extensive as other things, which is why it's kind of a fun thing to get into. because it's not as overwhelming. You don't have to learn so much. But it seems like debut stages in the early 2000s were much more of a spectacle than they are these days. Like, for example, I watched Big Bang's debut stage, and Big Bang is one of the biggest groups like of all time.
Boy, girl,
Boy,
what's their
it's a
style?
boy group. They're mostly like kind of like most of them are rappers. They have kind of like a hard edge to them, like they're Big Bang. And their debut stage, they were standing on 18-foot letters that said Big Bang, and it was like they were in like an endless warehouse, and the five, like they were just standing on top of these huge letters that said Big Bang. And To Anyone, another like staple history, like one of the greatest, you know, girl groups of all time, they also had like a bit of an edge. They were kind of like
They're more
futuristic,
sassy, and also a little bit more hip hop.
yeah, and their debut stage is like 12 minutes long, and the first 6 minutes, each girl in the group gets like a 2-minute like dance break alone on the stage to like introduce them as members.
Wow,
So it was a
they really don't do that
They
anymore.
don't, and I wonder if it's just that the like market has gotten flooded and that you can't spend that much time.
They don't have
on a
the time
music
for that
show.
anymore. There's so many groups that debut now. Like, so typically now a debut stage will include 2 songs, right?
Yes.
Like they're
you get half of like your B-side from your album.
yeah, and then the lead single off of whatever album. And
Yes.
usually the debut stage will come before the album is released. It's almost like a teaser for the album itself, or like an introductory, like,
Yes.
we're here and this is our group, and tomorrow you can buy our album. Like,
Yeah.
here's the lead single off of it.
Yeah, it's definitely like the beginning. And so let's backtrack a little bit about before we get to the debut stage and some stories about idols and how they came to be in the groups that they are in.
Yes, because as we were saying, most idols get cast from these like huge sort of open call auditions that are held and hosted by the companies themselves.
Yes.
But there are other like really weird and funny sort of casting stories that a lot of different idols have.
Yeah. Like the one that we feel like we know the best, our favorite member of anything, our bias, which we'll get into in another episode. His name is Mino, and he is in the group Shiny. And his story is generally like other people's, but he was not a kid who had any aspirations to be a singer or a dancer. He got approached by a scout, like while he was out shopping with his mom. And they were like, "You are beautiful. Do you want to be famous?" And like offered him, you know, like a golden ticket, like straight into the auditions for SM. And he had to like beg his parents to let him do this. He had to like promise to get good grades or something before they'd let him go.
As his dad has said, his dad is a professional soccer coach, and he did not want his son to be famous. And his son's, Mino's, very athletic. And so his father was always worried that he was going to try to become a professional athlete. He was like, "I don't want that fame life for you." And then he goes off and he becomes one of the most
Like,
famous
biggest pop stars
and successful
ever. Yeah.
pop stars of the whole world. Irony. The irony.
Yeah. But another interesting way, get into one of the stories that I researched before I know Angelica's like a whole notebook full of great stuff. But another new way in the last couple of years that groups have started coming together is on reality shows.
Yes.
Kind
of like American Idol or X Factor style.
but like even more specific.
And on a much grander scale. I mean,
Yes.
these reality shows start with like 101 people.
Yes. So the person I was going to talk about to like just give you an idea of how this can work, her name is Jeon So-mi, and she is, as of this recording, only 16 years old. Basically in 2014, she is half Canadian. Her dad is white and her mom is Korean, and she grew up in South Korea. But she got cast by JYP, which is another one of the big entertainment companies, in 2014. Then in 2015, JYP did their own reality show to put together their next big group. The show was called 16, and it started with 16 girls, and they were taking it down to 9 to create their new group, which is called Twice, which is one of the like biggest girl groups out there.
They are a phenomenon.
And Somi was one of the last people to be voted out of the show, and she did not make it into Twice. So, dreams dashed time number one. Then in 2016, they started this massive reality show that is a huge phenomenon right now called Produce 101, where multiple companies submitted like 10 of their trainees to create a pool of 101 girls that they were going to take down to a group of 11 girls.
Right. For only 1 year. Now, what's interesting about this show is that all of these girls come from different companies. And so they are already contractually obligated to be a part of SM or JYP or YG or whatever. But they go on this show and they're basically promised that if they make it into the group, they have 1 year as that group. And then they will disband and do separate things.
Yes. So Sweet Somi was voted number one for Produce 101, and the group that came out of that was called IOI. So she did that for 1 year, and then it ended, and she is again without a group. And then in 2017, she did a reality show called Unnie Slam Dunk, which is wonderful television. It is all on YouTube. Like, please check it out if you're looking for something to watch, where they got like comedians and dancers and actresses and all these people of all different age groups, made them live in a house together and create a girl group called the Unnies, which is like Korean for older sister.
UNNIE.
Yes. So she was on that show, released a single with the Unnies, and then that was over. Then she did another show called Idol Drama Operation Team, where they took a bunch of idol girls and made them write a Korean drama starring themselves about their lives. And they put out a single as well as Girls Next Door. That show is really interesting if you're looking for information about like what it is like to be a K-pop trainee. The girls get very candid about what their lives were like pre-debut in this show, and it's really interesting. That is also entirely on YouTube. So this is one girl at the age of 16 who has done a debut stage like 4 times, and she still isn't in a group.
Yeah.
And like that is a success story compared to all these kids who get cut before they even make it anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, there are many cases where you will audition and you will get cast as a trainee, and then you just never get put into a group at all, or you get put into a group and then it gets broken up really quickly, and you spent all that time training for nothing. You don't end up getting to
get a real job. Yeah.
I looked up a bunch of different people. I think I should start with my girl Jiwon, because she has the longest training time of like any idol in K-pop at all. And the most tragic part about it is that she was from my OG girl group, Spica, which doesn't exist anymore.
We talked about them last week.
Yes. And now they disbanded just recently. And now this girl's still not in a group. So anyway, so she's currently, as of this recording, 29. So she's much older than I thought she was actually. And there's conflicting info about her background, because since she isn't that successful or like that established, there's just not a lot of there's not a Wikipedia page on her or whatever. Right. So anyway, it was hard to find, but she trained for 10 years. So when she was about 18, she started training, older for many trainees. Yeah. So she started training when she was about 18, and she was supposed to be in a group called Five Girls, which also included a member of the Wonder Girls, and I think it included a Girls' Generation as well. This group never debuted because the company couldn't pay for it. So for financial reasons.
So often, like we've mentioned, like groups that are called, or the companies that are referred to as the big three, SM, JYP, and YG, because they are the most successful groups.
Yes.
But there are a crazy amount of these tiny companies that are trying to do this thing, and they run out of money before they put groups out more often than not.
So this girl, Jiwon, she trained for 10 years to be in this Five Girls group, which never debuted. And so then she went to a different company, because my guess, and I couldn't confirm this, but my guess is that the company itself folded. Yeah. Because she left that company, this unnamed company, and then went to train for 3 years with Tiara. She was one of the original members of the group Tiara, where so she trained for 3 years with them. In April of 2009, she recorded and released the first song with Tiara. But before they debuted, they released a song. And before they had their official debut stage, which was in July of 2009, the month before they debuted in June, she got kicked out of the group. Oh, no. And there's the company itself claims it was for musical differences, but several other like gossipy K-pop blogs claim it was for reasons of betrayal. I don't know why, but so apparently there's like a member of Tiara is a member of Tiara but didn't initially debut with them, and the reason she may have not originally debuted with them is because of emotional duress caused by this other girl.
God.
Drama.
There is so much Tiara drama. I feel like we should look it up for another episode because
we'll have to come back to them because
there are
seem
scandals.
Bananas. So anyway, my girl Jiwon gets kicked out of this group before they debut, and she stayed with the company for like another year and then left them in 2010, finally joined a new company in 2011 where she trained for a year and then debuted with Spica. Spica, they debuted in 2012 and then they had to like re-sign their contract in 2015. They were not around until 2016, had like a month-long comeback. And then just last year, 2017, according to the company, it was a mutual member agreement for the group to disband. So now all of the girls are doing different things. And one thing I found really interesting about Spica is that they are like sort of trained and like supported by BoA. They are BoA's girls is like what they're called.
Interesting.
And so BoA is
BoA's a solo artist, which is rare, but like the people who do it are incredible. Mm-hmm. Anyone who does this by themselves.
She's like the Britney Spears of K-pop in the sense that like not Britney Spears today, but like OG Britney, like killing the game in her dance and her singing and like solo all alone, incredible. She's an icon. Anyway, so Spica's her girls. And so she has apparently been like trying to help them like continue to work in different ways. But so now my girl is on a show called The Unit.
Oh God. Another reality, the saddest reality show.
One.
This reality show is based on all of the contestants are not like in Produce 101, which also has a boy version that we didn't talk about. But instead of being like trainees who have never done anything, the contestants on the unit are all people who are in groups that have failed. And it's
They're
their
all
last
in groups that
chance.
debuted and failed. And if they don't make it now, then they'll never make it. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed because my baby girl is like one of the top contestants. She's still on it now. The show has like another 2 months or so. I think it ends in February, and like for the love of God, put that girl in a group. She deserves it.
That's amazing. Well, like before you get into your other things that you have, because I don't know like what their topics are, while you just talked about somebody who had the longest training time of all time, I'm going to mention somebody who had the shortest training time of anybody. And that is also in my group A-Pink, which I've brought up already on this program. And their lead singer, her name is Jungyoon-ji, and she is incredibly talented.
Unbelievable vocalist.
In the very beginning of 2011 or the very end of 2010, she auditioned for Cube Entertainment, and they were so impressed with her. They had a group already put together, like ready to debut, called A-Pink, and they were like, we need this girl to be our lead singer. They halted everything, re-recorded everything, and she debuted with them 2 months later. 2 months. That's all she had to do.
What?
And just to prove how incredible this girl is, let me play just a little bit of her singing Love You I Do from Dreamgirls.
You're strong and your smile, you're taking my heart, and I give you the last of me too. Oh, you're the perfect man for me. I love you, I do.
Amazing.
Yeah, she is a talent.
Yes.
So that is the polar opposites of training experiences. You can either spend 10 years doing this stuff, or you can just get thrown into a group in 2 months.
Yeah.
So what do you
All
got
right,
in that
no
fun notebook
peeking.
there?
Okay, so Shannon was like, she gave me homework in preparation of this podcast, and she told me that I needed to look up the trainee who had the longest training time, so I did. And then she also said, like, find fun stories, whatever, so I did. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 for you.
Okay.
You may have already heard some of these, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this person, and you have to guess who it is.
Okay.
Okay. This person auditioned many times for specific companies and failed all of them. So he gave up. I gave it away. It's a boy.
Okay.
He gave up and he began prepping for music college. And standing outside of his practical exam room for college, the reports say that he was clearing his throat when he was immediately cast by a manager. Who was it?
Oh my God.
You don't know this story.
I don't know this story.
I will give you a hint.
Okay, please.
And say that it is an SM manager who cast this person.
Okay. Is it an EXO?
Yes.
Is it Chanyeol?
No.
Oh, Chen.
No. You think Chen would have failed an audition?
No.
Hello? Excuse
I'm
me?
Sorry. I'm sorry. You're right.
Golden voice, Jongdae?
He
I don't
also
think so.
got cast right. Him and Baekhyun got cast within 3 days of each other. They were the last added to EXO. I've learned that last night. So you're right. I'm wrong.
Giving you meaningful eyes.
I don't know.
You just said his name. It's
Baekhyun.
It's Baekhyun.
It's Baekhyun.
He failed all of his auditions and was clearing his throat. And then someone said, I
That's
need you.
amazing.
Yeah.
He is a very good singer, and he is also somebody who was added to his group at the very last minute.
We
So
make
that's
fun
so
of Baekhyun
funny.
a lot because he, like a lot of trainees, like we said before, they get these like etiquette lessons, and he clearly didn't get them because this boy just like spills tea all the time.
Yeah.
He's a real
dangerous
gossip.
on television.
But anyway, okay, so here's another. This is another EXO. You
Okay.
probably know this one.
I don't know anything.
Oh, great. He was on like every list, but okay. So this EXO was approached on the street while eating dokboki at a street vendor stand. And the casting manager who came up to him, he, being very young, thought it was a scam. And so he ran away from the casting manager. The casting manager chased him for 30 minutes.
What?
And finally was able to convince him to audition.
Oh my God.
Kai's a good guess, but
Kai's
it's
a good
not Kai.
guess, but it's not Kai. Sehun.
Yes. Yes. Sehun is the youngest member of EXO, and he's a silly baby. So it makes total sense that he
That's
would
so
just
funny.
run away. I have so many more. This one's a fun one. This member auditioned many, many times for a specific company. It's not SM. And it wasn't until he auditioned for the Wonder Girls that this company finally paid attention to him and cast him in a group that we love very much.
Wooyoung.
Yes.
Yes! I did it.
Wooyoung of 2PM, a fantastic, sexy beast idol group. Check them out. They're beautiful. You want one more?
Yeah, one more.
Okay, one
Hit me.
more. Last one. This... they're all boys, I realize now. I'm sorry. Anyway, this boy, he was working at a coffee shop when a customer came in and started a conversation with him and asked him who his favorite singer was. So this barista stated that his favorite singer was someone named Nell, whom I do not know. And that customer ended up being Nell's manager. And so the manager said, you should come in and audition. And this member was cast immediately at his audition.
Oh God.
I will give you
need hints.
a hint. It is a group we don't really listen to,
Okay.
but have been discussing recently. And this is the only member whose name you know.
Oh God.
One of two, actually.
Is it BTS?
No.
Okay. Is it 17?
No, they're older. They're more established.
TVXQ.
I'll give you another hint. This will give it away. Well, we've seen this person on a variety show.
Is it Sungkwan from that guy from Infinite?
Yes, it's Song Yu from
Okay.
Infinite.
Sungkyu from Infinite. He's so funny. He's really good on reality
He's
shows.
great on TV. He's a
So he
Infinite
was
is
just
an interest
working
group.
at a coffee shop and then got cast. That's magical.
I know. So many people. I actually, in my research, also discovered that since you mentioned 17, 17 is a new group that
doesn't have 17 members.
They have 13 members.
Which is still too many, but it should just be 17.
Or they should all be 17 years old. Like, there should be meaning to the name 17, but there isn't. So anyway, this 13-member group, 10 of them were cast from the street or competitions, were cast instead of having auditioned. Only 3 of the 13 members were actually from auditions, and the rest were found on the street, waiting for the subway, walking home from school, at taekwondo competitions, at dance competitions. Like, they just sort of found them and cast a wide net.
Yeah. You said in your research, it seems like these company scouts like work hard. You said someone got followed into a bathroom or followed into a cab or something.
There is who was it? It's a girl. I can't remember who it is. Anyway, there's a very famous casting story of a girl who was at a singing competition, and before she even went and competed in the audition, she went to the bathroom. She was like looking for the bathroom, and a casting member or like scout or manager, whoever it was, followed her to the bathroom based solely on her look and was like, I want you to be a trainee instead. And so then she was cast from there. Didn't even hear her sing, just saw what she looked like.
That's so crazy. Because it seems like, and that's like a thing I wanted to get into for a minute, is that like, while plenty of these kids are like unbearably talented as it is, some of them are not. And then they teach them to be talented.
Yeah, like our sweet Mino, like bless his lovable heart, was not a good singer when they first grabbed him. He was just pretty and tall and athletic, so he could sort of like pick up the dancing. But that's why he was cast as the rapper, because he couldn't do anything else. And now he sings and he sounds beautiful. But, you know, some of them.
But it's so much work. And I was seeing on an article about EXO talking about their training days that they say that like if you are not willing to give every moment 120%, you will be gone like faster than you can even imagine, because like they don't have time for that. There's so much like money and reputation and crazy stuff on the line.
And we'll talk a little bit more about this when we do we'll do an episode about the company's structure in specifically. But I think it's important, since we're talking about trainees, that like these are kids when they're cast. Like the youngest I think we mentioned was like 10. And so these kids are going to school, and as soon as they're finished with school, they go straight to the company for dance lessons, voice lessons. They do this on the weekends. Like they don't have lives aside from school and being a trainee. And there's like fun stories where like this people at the school like find out that they're trainees or whatever, and they start getting like followed around. But these kids, they give up their lives. And so if you can't dedicate your whole self to this, you will not make it.
Here is an example of like somebody that I feel like is, you know, proof of how hard people work. There is this story that I'll never forget that came up on that Unease reality show that I mentioned earlier. There's this wonderful singer. Her name is Hong Jin Young, and she sings trot, which we can talk about another time. But she did
different genre of Korean music.
Yes, but she did start out in like a failed, bankrupt girl group, like many people do. And she told a story. She has this incredible wink. Like you have never seen anybody wink like this girl winks. It's like her signature thing. She's so good at winking. And she said on that show that she is so good at winking because one day she came into the studio, to the training building, locked herself in a practice room, set up a mirror, and winked for 8 hours. Like, this is what they are doing. Like, this is not just like they work until they can do this stuff in their sleep.
Yeah. It's true.
And that's why it's so damn impressive.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, that's why you get these, like, there's so many fun reality shows where one of our favorites is called Weekly Idol. And they do a segment where they make the groups either do, like, a random play dance. So they'll play, like, a medley of their dances, and they just have to quickly switch in between them. Or they'll do, like, a sped up version of a dance, and the group has to, like, figure it out on the fly. But the reason they can do these things, and it seems like magic, is because it's all they do. And so, you know, you watch them and you're like, how can they even possibly be so incredible? It's because that's their job. They're professionals. It's the only thing they care about.
Yeah. And it's really crazy how these groups, how the companies are then able to use their pool of trainees for other stuff. Like I have a couple of examples of people who get to do things before they debut in a group. Like, for example, our boy Mino is the star of the Girls' Generation video G.
That's right.
And that was before SHINee debuted. And then in SHINee's debut music video, Victoria from FX plays the girl before FX came out.
Before they debuted.
Lay from EXO was a backup dancer for SHINee before he got
That's
put
right.
in
When
EXO.
one of the members was injured, right?
Yes.
Didn't he replace?
I think he filled in when Junghyun's
for
ankle
Jonghyun.
was
Yeah.
done. Like when, but yeah, so they still managed to like work without getting to like be, you know, before they get to be a thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are stories of people who pop up in music videos as trainees and did not get to do anything after.
Probably.
It just like comes back when those people end up being stars.
So should we talk a little bit about some debut stages? That was our other vocabulary word. Are we going to talk about some specific debut stages?
I think that to possibly wrap up this episode a little bit, we are going to watch a debut stage together.
Right.
But I think before we start, I have to preface this with
We need a disclaimer.
little bit of disclaimer. So this has to come up eventually. As we've mentioned in the last few episodes, our favorite group of all time is SHINee.
Yes. Because they're the best.
Because they truly are the best. Like, I know we're being biased, but
I don't care. I'll defend it to the end of the earth. They're the greatest there ever was and ever will be.
But a couple of weeks ago,
On December 18th.
one of the members, Kim Jong-un, took his own life. And we are still deeply in mourning.
Yes.
And I'm hoping that this podcast will help in our healing process. And, you know,
It was a shock in the sense that, you know, his job is to be happy. And so there are so many different examples where, you know, he was always very open about suffering from depression and his mental health, but it's always a shock. And so I think it's helpful now that we're sort of forcing ourselves to stay in this beautiful world of K-pop, even though it has
a little bit of a dark
with
cloud
some
over
tragedy.
But SHINee is our favorite, and SHINee is what I go to when I am sad.
Yes.
And I so desperately want to get to a place again where SHINee can make me feel the way that it used to.
And they, I mean, objectively and arguably have, maybe those are contradictory words, but they are on almost every list of best debut stages
Exactly.
ever. Like we can't talk about debut stages. We can't talk about K-pop without talking about SHINee because they are so talented and they're so revered and respected within the industry that we have to bring them up.
Yes. So to end off our debut stage episode, we are going to watch SHINee's entire debut stage right now. And if you want to watch along with us, the link will be on the website, and I will let you know when I press play so you can follow along.
Yes,
Gotta turn the
their
computer
debut
screen here.
song is called It's called Replay, but it's also called Nuna.
Nuna nomu 예뻐, which means woman who is slightly older than me. You are so beautiful.
Yes.
And that's why we like it too, because we are slightly
can
older
relate.
than them. We can relate. We can pretend
they're
it's for
singing
us.
to us.
So, okay, here we go. Are you ready, girl? You want to see our babies like the first time they came out into the
It's
world?
been years since I've watched. I listened to this song a lot. It's one of my favorites, if not my absolute favorite SHINee song. And it's been so long since I've seen
It's been
this
so long.
stage.
So, May 25th, 2008, SHINee's first time on stage. Here
we go.
A new hero is coming. 5 stars from the universe. The most shiny name of the world. SHINee.
They're so small.
Look at that cheap ass stage. And Onu's like silly fedora.
Oh, listen to the fan chants already. I miss him.
Me too.
Oh, they're dancing so hard. It looks like they're gonna break their shoulders.
Looks like Timeen was gonna throw himself on the floor. This is such an iconic dance. And Timeen is what, 15 in this? He's so small.
Very young.
Are those the same pants from Lucky One?
The mermaid pants. Oh my God, his helmet hair.
They all have helmet hair. Look at that crime on top of Timeen's head. I mean, they don't even have like slightly dyed brown hair. It is
No.
like straight black.
That is like sort of a staple of brand new groups is that everyone has naturally colored hair.
Yeah. Or completely undyed, which seems to be this case.
Oh, they brought the backup dancers in, filling it out. Oh, he's smiling so big. They're so proud. This is the best.
Isn't this the one in the I Am documentary
Yes.
where they just burst into tears?
They all cry at the end, yeah.
Well, they should cry. They're so good. And they should be so proud. Timmy's baby face is too much for me.
He's so
He's
small.
such a goob. He looks like such a dweeb.
Keep dreaming about you.
Yeah, yeah. Bring back the beat. Thanks, Mino. His one contribution. Yay!
Yay. And that's watching
Oh, they're
legends
so
be born. Oh,
beautiful.
God. That was the best. That is still, to me, one of the greatest K-pop songs of all time. It's so good.
Hands down agree. And I mean, as you can hear in the video, they're obviously singing live. Not one missed note. They're dancing the whole time. Not one missed step.
I can't even, and like we were talking during it that you know, there's a documentary. It is unfortunately paywalled on dramafever.com.
It used to be on Netflix.
But if you want to start a 30-day free trial, it's a good documentary that's like specifically about SM artists. It's a concert documentary that's like concert footage spliced with like training footage of the kids, and it all ends with like all of these videos from their debut days. And after this shiny performance, they all come down the stairs and all their parents are at the bottom of the stairs and they all just cry because I can't
so
imagine the
sweet.
nerves of like being like we were saying, like Taemin is 14 or 15 years old
So
when that
young,
happened.
so
Like
young.
I can't imagine being that young and spending so much time working on a thing, and then you just like go on TV and you have to hope that people don't hate you, and that you can like, you know, that this thing you've worked so hard on is worth something. And that's just an example of like magic of like when it works, and
when
it really
everything
worked
clicks,
then.
and they blew up after that. They really did. It was like instant success.
And another group that like from the jump that's a little more recent, Blackpink came out last year, and their debut song was an instant hit.
They only came out last year?
Yeah,
No.
girl.
2016?
Maybe the very end of 15. Blackpink
Shut
is or end of 15 because we were dancing. We were doing Blackpink songs in 2000 or
2006.
six. No, it must have been the end of 2016. Anyway,
crazy.
they're new, and their debut stages also like rocketed them to the moon.
If you watched the Justice League, then
Yes,
you've
there was a
already
Blackpink
seen a
song.
Blackpink video.
I was so distracted. The scene where it's like Bratman comes over to the Flash's apartment, he turns the lights on, and the newest Blackpink single just starts blaring.
Yes.
And I think there
And
were jokes in that scene, but I couldn't hear anything else. All I could hear was that
and the
Blackpink
video
song.
is playing in the background on one of his like 20
Many
screens,
TVs.
and it is the background music of that entire conversation, which I couldn't tell you what it was about because I
wasn't
the dance in
listening
my head
because we
learned
know
it.
the dance. We know every single Blackpink song because
Yes,
our
we
dance
do.
teacher loves Blackpink.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's it. That's how it comes to be.
Mm-hmm.
You work real hard.
From a very young age, and then if you're lucky and you're talented, then I mean it's not just about being talented because all of these kids are talented, but it's really a lot of luck and hard work
And the dedication of it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, luck is a huge part of
Mm-hmm.
it because we all know of groups that we enjoyed that just like, either
They
don't
never
get
got the fandom
or the company doesn't promote them the right way or like it's all just really a crapshoot as to whether or not you're going to be a superstar or if you're just going to like, fade into nothingness.
Yeah.
But when it works, man, does it work?
Man, does it work? It is a phenomenon, and we will be talking about that phenomenon hopefully until the day we die.
Yeah, that's all I want to do. So before we wrap up, it's time for our weekly recommendations.
Yeah.
I'm going to go first this
Okay.
week. My recommendation is on the same topic of debut stages. Another girl group that we love, the first group we got to see
Yes.
in person, our
First
first
K-pop
K-pop
show.
concert. This group is called Mamamoo.
Mamamoo.
And they're divas. Like they can
They're
sing.
unbelievable. Ooh, they sang and they're goofy. They're called like the goddesses of energy, I think is their name or
they're-
something. They're like
They have a beagle image, which is like
Mm-hmm.
a Korean term for like someone who's like, hyper and like silly
Yes.
and whatever. They're very silly, but they can sing. And
sound
their
so
debut
good.
stage, the song was called Mr. Ambiguous. And so my recommendation, it will be linked on the website, is to look up their debut stage of Mr. Ambiguous. They're wearing like black and white striped dresses, like old timey Barbie dolls. Hwasa has like a big cool hat on. They're wearing these like rings on their hands that have mustaches on them, and they do a little cute choreography that like puts
yeah.
the It's adorable.
the
and
dance
they-
is so cute. They sound incredible.
Yeah. So that's my recommendation this week. The Mamamoo debut stage for Mr. Ambiguous.
That's a great one. Mine is also a debut stage, but it's going back in time a little bit
boy.
because I had actually never seen this until last night when I was looking for a recommendation for this episode. And actually, before I make my recommendation, I have to say that my actual recommendation was also Mr. Ambiguous.
See? There you go. We
I spent all of last night, like literally 3 hours watching Mamamoo videos, and wrote that down as what I was going to say. But Shannon had the same thought, so I had a backup. Luckily,
Okay, what's your backup?
My backup is the 2 p.m. debut stage, which is a song that I'd actually never heard of before, called 10 Points Out of 10.
Oh, girl, I'm so upset you've never heard 10 points out of 10.
Have you
before.
ever watched the debut stage?
No, I've seen the
Girl,
music video.
Can we pull it up? I'm sorry, but okay. So Shannon mentioned earlier these like older K-pop groups like Big Bang and 2NE1 that did these like unbelievably over the top debut stages, and that's what 2 p.m. is. First of all, did you know 2 p.m. originally had 7 members?
Yeah, Jay Park.
Okay. Just checking. That's what I thought. But when I watched this last night, I was like, who is that? What is happening? Anyway, so 2 p.m., the hottest part of the day.
Oh, is that where that comes from?
Girl, that's the title of their first
my
album.
God.
Hottest part of the day. I love 2 p.m. Anyway, this group, this debut stage has acrobatics and pyrotechnics.
Yeah, they used to
and
like
it
throw each
is-
other around.
Oh,
That was like their whole
it's-
thing.
It's enjoyable.
2 p.m.
Oh my God.
Yes!
They are flying up out of the stage.
I love when people do that. I love it.
Oh, they're doing clock arms.
Always, because they're 2 p.m., baby. Pyrotechnics! Pyrotechnics! Cutscene. Look at those stupid ponytails.
Oh, really bad ponytails on multiple members. Juno has furry shoulder pads on. Oh, no, it's
the
a hat. It's a
outfits
hood.
are great. Look at that jacket. It's so shiny.
Oh my God.
They're just throwing themselves on the ground. Oh, it's a furry hood.
It's a hood, yeah. It's not shoulder pads, but it looks silly.
I mean, it easily could have been shoulder pads. This is K-pop we're talking about.
Ship jump, number ship jump.
I love the consistent fire in the background. So many bad haircuts in this.
Wow. That
Highly
was really
recommend the
something.
entire episode. I mean, the entire video. It truly explodes into like a b-boy dance.
I have never seen Jay Park without tattoos on his neck, so that looks great.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
He looks like a different person.
Completely
a
different person. Wow. Wow.
So we'll put the link for that video as well
Absolutely.
as we do for all of our recommendations.
Oh my
that was
God.
2 p.m. 10 points out of 10.
Wow. So, yeah, as always, you can find us if you want to send us an email. We are amakpoppod@gmail.com, at amakpoppod on Twitter, and amakpoppod.tumblr.com for our website.
So check us out, talk to us, tell us what your favorite debut stages are if you have them, if you have questions about
please
groups.
send us questions.
We're
here for you.
desperate.
And we just want to talk about K-pop.
Yeah, like we talk to each other about this all day long, but like we'd like to talk to other people about it too. So
Totally.
get at us.
So next week we will be back diving in a little bit further into the anatomy of a group.
Yes.
What makes up a group? How do they decide who gets to do what? How does the age of everybody come into play? Because it sure does.
And are we going to be talking about concepts of groups, or should we save that for another episode?
That should be
That'll
a whole
different
nother
one, right?
episode, I think.
Oh, there's so many layers.
There's so much to talk about, guys. We can be doing this forever, so it's going to be great. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.
Go out and K-pop.
Jonghyun, you are inspiration.